Yeah, my name is Charitha and I am here to teach you about web application which was asked to develop in the web coursework 2 along with the REST API and other web technologies such as jQuery and Backbone.js. Alright, then let's get started this lesson with the installation process and then we'll figure out what dependencies are needed and when. So the first thing we need, of course, the Backbone library which you can reach at the backbonejs.org. So now this is not only the tool that you need. Backbone is just the structure, it is just the framework, but it has its own set of dependencies. If we scroll down just a ways, we can see that Backbone only hard dependency is a tool called underscore, also created by these guys. Underscore actually a very cool library. It's just a utility library, so it fills a lot of gaps that currently exist in the language. Okay, so now I have switched over to NetBeans, which is my development environment, and I have already set up my JavaScript dependencies, and also I have referenced them in the footer of the application as well as in the login page. So everything I load in this page, it's there with the DOM. Okay, so Backbone main concept begins with the Backbone model, and the Backbone models are used to create some kind of objects, and each object has its own behaviors. In here we have our user model, which is extended by the Backbone model. Each model has its own default behaviors. Those default values of the particular model would be declared here. So every time an object is being created using models, default values will be assigned to the object. URL uses to call the backend services directly whenever the object state changes occurs. According to this, we have our user model created here with the default value score sets to 0 and URL as user. So what is this user and how it comes here? Well, this is just a function name, and let me explain to you what is it. When we have our login page, you will see a URL. From this point to this, index.php is called the base URL and the rest part called the controller. If we dive into our login controller, you will see set of functions, and here you will see our user function as well. Whenever the state changes occur to the user object, it calls this method via concatenating the page URL and the user object URL. As for the coursework, I have used this Backbone in order to accomplish the registration task and the login task in a simple manner. By clicking this, users can access the registration form, and let me quickly fill out for you. In this button, click event. We are creating our new user object from the Backbone user model, and then we are setting up our new attributes to the newly created user object. Note that in here we don't have our user score attribute defined, but from the initial stage when the user object is creating, the user score have been set for us. Now we have our completed user object to be sent to the server in order to register the user via saving our user object in the database. Object.save is one of the state changing method which uses to send the request to the server. So let's go and check out the server side for now. In this user method, first line of code gives us the request method name. It could be post, get, put or delete. Since we used object.save method, it triggers from the first switch statement and then it will redirect to the add user function. So let me show you how this Backbone.js behave as for now. So now I am in the web page and I am in the inspect element network tab. So let's trigger this button event. So we are now registered and you can see that request here. If you double click on this request, you will see the header, preview and responses. If you notice that it consists of several subparts, and this part called general, and it holds the URL up to this point from the page URL, and user part is from the Backbone.js model. And also you will see this request method as post. So let's go back to the login controller and let's continue from where we stopped. So I have just shown you the name of the request method of the request, and it was post in there. So from here it grabs the method as the post method and redirects the user request to the add user method. In here you will see a bunch of codes, but nothing to worry about it. It is just the PHP codes. So from top to bottom I will be explaining it later. For now, let me show the payload of the request to you. In the header section you will see the payload drop down, and if you click on it you can see the entered user data here. Note that the score attribute by default set 1 also been added to this one. So if you are familiar with JSON objects, you will be noticed that this is just a JSON object from the first site. So what we know from this stage, that backbone object state change method functions send the request to the user via post methods, and to pass the data to the server it uses JSON object as we defined. Okay, let's move to the server side again. Since the payload comes as a JSON object, we have to decode in order to retrieve the values from the object. After that we can get the raw data and access them like this. In here what I'm doing is I'm just creating an array of user data. After that I am loading the user class by sending the created array. User class acts as a library in CodeIgniter, but it is just a simple PHP class. So let's move to the user class. In here I have initialized a constructor function. So whenever user creating an object of this class, it needs to be filled out these fields. So in here it sends the data array while creating the class. So now we have our user model here, and then we are sending this newly created user model to the registration function. So now we are in the user model and it is saving the user in the user table. So let me show you the user table and the newly added user in the database. Here we can see that our newly added user data in the database. Okay, now I have again switched to user model, and you can see that after user data saved in the database, it returns the row ID back to the controller. From the controller it is JSON encoded and it returns to its destination. So it is here in the success function. After that I am creating the login view using backbone JSON underscore JS. As I explained before, this view also works as the model works. We have our backbone view here, and we have just created our object from that view and just passing the input element and the corresponding use object to the backbone view. This line of code is to create the template using underscore JS. As you can see, I have accessed the user's email simply by calling the corresponding attribute here. Let me show it to you in the object. So it's in it's here, email. So rolling back to the point we just stopped, and yes, here. Then in the rendering part I am using a replace with method and passing the created simple underscore template to the method. So it will find the element ID we just sent to the view and in the DOM, and will be replace the content of the element with the newly created template. So that concludes the backbone lesson for you. Let's continue the demonstration with other technologies such as jQuery, Ajax, Chart.js, and finally Materialize CSS. jQuery is the easiest and the most popular JavaScript library. To start this, the first thing we need to have is the jQuery library. You can download the jQuery library from their website jQuery.com. After downloading, we have to reference it in our project. So I have already placed the JavaScript library in my folder, and it's there in the footer also. With jQuery, we can do a lot of fancy stuff. The basic thing to do in this jQuery is the selector. The selector uses an ID element of a particular DOM element, and it allows us to access anything of the element such as click events and change events. So let's start with the login screen and its button click event handler. So here we have its button ID, and its ID is btn login. So in the JavaScript level, we can handle this click event by using a selector. So this is the click event of the login button, and in this task also I have used Backbone.js for an example. So we have our user model creation in here, but in this time we are fetching the user model by using the .fetch state change function. So in this state change function, .fetch, it goes to the REST API as mentioned before, but this time it goes as a get since we do a .fetch function. So let's enter the Jacob's password. It was Jacob123, and let's open up the inspect element and watch what happens in the requests. Let's click on this button. So jQuery selector will handle the click event for us. Okay, here we go. We got the request, and let me check it. And yes, we have our request to the REST API, and here we have our URL and the method as get. Let's go to the REST API. So this is the REST API in the login controller user method. So this REST API is in charge of managing and handling all the requests from the login screen, from the login screen, login users and registering users and everything. Since this request was a get method, it triggers the second case of the case statements. So it goes to the get user method. In the get user method, I have used the URL segments in order to grab the URL values. After that, I have directly sent those values to the user model. Inside the user model, it cross-checks the database, and if the user exists in the database, it returns the user ID to the controller. So in the login control, it checks whether the user ID is greater than 0. If it is greater than 0, we are setting up our user session variable. If the user is logged in, then you will be seeing this user icon and the more icon. More icon is where you have the several options. So now I am back here to explain about the AJAX request in a brief manner. So I'm going to this link. So in this link you have this bot. Actually you have upvote for comments also. So this is one of the comments of this link, and you can upvote for this. So if I press on this will be triggered the AJAX request. So I'll be showing you now. So as you can see, for each and every upvote and downvote icons, we have cvote class. So by triggering this cvote class, I'm setting up event handler for this cvote class. So in this cvote class, I'm having an event handler. So when I use this, it says up already. So whenever I do this downvote, and if I want to do this upvote, it triggers this action. Actually, this cvote function. So it triggers the cvote function, and inside this cvote function, you can see this AJAX request. So this is the structure of an AJAX request, and each and every request has a URL, a type, a data type, data, and the request callback success. So if an error, it comes to here. If it is success one, it comes to the success method. So in the URL, we are specifying the URL to be called in the server side. So in this case, the comment and the comment vote. In the comment, in the sense the controller name, and the comment vote in the sense the function name. So let me go to the comment control. This is the comment controller. Actually, in the comment controller, this is the function. So comment controller and function. So this is the function. So inside this method, we can access these data. How can we access this data? Since this is a post method, from the code igniter level, we can use this input post. So this post is coming from this post. So because of this post, we can use this post in here. So in the post, both are post. So this vote type and user ID, comments ID, and everything we can access from the server side, since this data have been in the same variable names here, same variable name. So after that we are calculating everything, and if it is a fresh user and fresh upload, then no problem. Fresh download, no problem. If it is another upload for upload, then it says you have already uploaded. So if you want to see the network, so will be here when I upload it, it says it's already uploaded. So in the request you can see, in the header you can see the HTTP and the request, and this is the method, this is the post method, and preview also you have true, success function methods, and all everything is there. So so that is pretty much about the Ajax request. I'm going to go to the trainer profile. So this is the trainer profile. So the trainer profile is an enlarged photo, and even some of the pictures are featured in this one. So the different consists of post, current, post, and test. And I can tell you like 4, and row number 4, and row number 2 are posted. So how is consisting of about things that you can search, and you will be allowing to picking this up in the editor image. So as for now, the score is 30, and so let me go and change your score to something else. I have just downloaded one thing, one of what. So if you go back and say it's just 10, so it has been reduced by the, it has been reduced this score from the trainer profile, and let's go and change her comment. So change her comment for okay, no comment from her. Yeah, let me just yes, she has commented in it. So I'm going to upload for her, so I will upload it to one of the thing. So let me go and check her profile again. So it's 6 years uploaded. It's just again added some value to this. So it says like the upload for post and reels both are notified. So let me go and do another change here. So it's again 3, and if I go that 75 here. So now I'm going to explain about this page. So we played with scores, comments, and everything. So from the default level, this page loads with the posts. So this is the post, and you have pages. And if for this user does not have many comments links, so we'll go back and use Charitha. So this is the one. This is my name. So this is my profile, and I already logged with Microsoft. So in this page you have posts, and even in this page you have pagination. In post you can upload download everything works fine in this page, and even in the comments you in the comment section. So I'm in the comment section. So for each and every link, total comments are concatenated in one row, and if you click on this link this row, you will be seeing all of the comments. So number of comments will be displayed here as 3 comments. So if you want to enlarge the image, you can enlarge by clicking on this, and even in the profile in the comment cover. So if it is one comment, you don't have anything to show much. So this is it's not a collectible one. If it is a 2 comments as you have, then it is collectible. So the third one is the votes. So when you press the votes, it goes to the down and calculates the votes from the database using an AJAX code. It goes to the control, then it calculates everything and sends back to here. And even the same in the statistics. This statistics uses these two values, these 14 and 7. So according to this 14 and 7, the graph will be pie chart will be donut chart will be displayed like this for the uploads and downloads. So that is all about the user profile. So let me go and log out myself. So as for the coursework, it was asked to develop such a website, same as Reddit. So even the users who are not logged in, they can even access the website. So this user have not been logged in. So even this user is not logged in, he can access everything, but he cannot do changes to the system. If he tries to do the changes, it says you are not logged in, please log in. So in everything same here, you are not logged in, please log in. So everything is the same. You can access everything and everything, but you cannot do changes to the site here. You cannot do anything. You cannot place anything before logging to the system. If you are logged in, you can do anything. So that is all about the second coursework. So I'll be leaving you right now with the coursework content, and I'm done with this coursework content. And yes, thank you a lot.